First of all, good back. Welcome to Eastern Eye.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I have to start asking you, in a country like India, when we say that, someone wants to become a DJ,
Yeah.
that is a very different field. People don't really think that, DJing would be a profession. So
Sure.
when did this came to your mind that, I should become a DJ and, be different from what others are?
I mean, it was a very natural progression. I started off playing guitar when I was in school. That started off more as a hobby, but I was still doing, I was doing science, ISC, ICSE. So finished that, and then I still didn't have really an inclination as to what I wanted to do. So I obviously just listened to my parents, and they said go do engineering. So it seemed like the only option at that point because I didn't really have a conviction towards any particular field. Then when I went and started doing engineering, I went to this school called Georgia Tech. It's in Atlanta. So that's where I got introduced to electronic music. I started going to a lot more shows and got really inspired by some of the artists that were coming up around that time. And over the next couple of years, just to condense it, I just bought my first DJ controller, started like practicing, and really found myself diving deep into it in a way that I had never found myself be interested in anything else. So it was a very new experience for me because like prior to me discovering DJing and production, I always hated the process of learning. Like learning was just not fun for me, especially in like a regular classroom setting, whether it's a biology class or my engineering classes. I was just waiting for the clock to tick and reach the end, But when I was learning music, when I was like practicing on my own, and when I was just diving deep into production or DJing, like time would cease to exist. Like I would look at the clock, it'd be 3 p.m. and I would start, and I would look at the clock again, it'd be 9 p.m. I would just sat for 6 hours, and I would just, was just so engrossed in it that I knew something was different about this. So that's when I started like thinking a little bit more seriously about, okay, maybe this can be something that I dedicate my life to.
So, I was just going through your music, your videos on YouTube, of course, on your channel, and I have seen that mainly you play with music and there's not much of lyrics in it. And you, of course, still make videos that are quite good, conceptualized, and in a very different way. I mean, recently, I think Dirty South is one of your recently released videos. I was going through that, and it's quite different when you watch it visually and everything. So how does this happen? Because, when it comes to music, lyrics play a very important part, but without having a lyrics to make your audiences feel that what the character is going through, how difficult is that? Do you plan the videos like you first make just the music and then you make the concept? How do you do that?
So it's different with every song. Dirty South, I did not have a visual direction in mind when I was making the track. It was more of a vibe. It was more just sounds that really inspired me, put together into one cohesive piece. Then later, once the song was made, I started visually thinking about what a visual aesthetic could be. But for example, with Boom Shankar, like immediately when I made the song, I had a very distinct image about what like the world that song would exist in, and what the characters would be like, what interactions would be happening. So I had the moment I made the song, I knew what I wanted to portray. So I think it's different with every track.
So of course, I think if I'm not wrong, you are actually the first Indian trap artist to perform at the Burning Man. So how has been that whole experience of performing there? I think this year it was virtually, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. Yeah. So it was incredible because I actually like it's been a dream of mine ever since I heard about the festival to play there. So that's a big thing. And then on top of that, I was playing on a stage where a lot of the artists that I had been inspired by were on the same lineup. That was also another huge achievement that I was like super like grateful to have got the opportunity to do that. and the virtual experience also was totally like different than the VR festivals that I have seen, because it was definitely very realistic, like very, very realistic. It was almost like you were immersed in that experience, which is the closest I have seen a virtual festival get to that sort of immersive real life experience, because you did also have the opportunity to wear your VR goggles and be a character within the world. So you could actually like sit in your living room, wear these goggles, look around, and feel like you were there, and go from stage to stage. So that was a very cool addition to what normally is something you just look at your phone and watch, which I don't think that gives you the right experience at all. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. So, I have to ask you this, that you are a DJ and you love playing for people, huge crowds and everything. How much are you missing that thing during this whole pandemic?
A lot, man. Like, it hit me about 2.5 months in. It really hit me. I thought I was fine. I was kind of like playing it down, like the whole lockdown thing. I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'm anyway used to like isolation, because my music making is a very solitary pursuit, especially if you're a music producer. Then a lot of the time you're working in a place like this, which is you're alone and you're just sitting by yourself with a computer. So I thought I was used to it, but then I guess what I didn't factor in was that I was used to the isolation. I'm used to being alone, but I always did have those breaks where I got to perform and like get like a visceral reaction of my music, by looking at people's faces, like seeing them feel it, gives you some kind of validation, right? And as artists, like a lot of us are insecure about our art. I mean, it's a very common thing for artists to not feel satisfied with their art, whatever that may be. It could be you're cooking something, it could be you're drawing something, or it could be you're writing or making music. It's a very common trait of artists to be insecure, and I felt like that those weekly breaks gave me a little bit of that validation that allowed me to sort of ease my insecurity in my head about, okay, what I'm doing actually has some value, right? So it helped answer that question. So 2.5 months in, it hit me really badly. Now, I mean, everyone, you get used to it, right? Everyone gets used to. That's the best part of human beings. You adapt and you try and just move on. So I'm at that phase now.
So, I think my last question for this interview would be that you are doing quite well independent music, you're doing quite well in that zone, but any plans of trying your hands into Bollywood music as well?
So I would love to. Honestly, I'm totally open to the idea. It just has to be the right song. So if some movie requires music that fits my identity, fits what I value in terms of musicality as an artist, I would love to do it. And I think I have a lot of music that's coming out over the next few months that could fit within a Bollywood soundscape. It's just that it has to be the right movie. So if it's the right movie, right director, I don't mind looking at that at all. I mean, I would love to actually.
It was really nice talking to you, Gurbax. All the best for your future projects and all your songs. And I have to say that you are offering something totally unique from what other music that we have been listening to.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So it was really nice talking to you. All the best and thank you for being with us.
Awesome, man. Bye.
Bye. Take care.